Any attempts to describe how hyped I am for Xenoblade Chronicles 3 would just evolve into a series of hyperbolic squeals, so I'll be professional and just say that I'm pretty excited. So excited, in fact, that just minutes after the reveal trailer for 3 dropped, I was already foaming at the mouth to make a video on it. That's how deep my passion for this series runs. I've only just put out a video on 2, but I just couldn't help myself. I just have to get something out, find some way to channel this raw excitement and glee. But what could I do? I didn't want to just put out a reaction video, wouldn't fit my brand. So I went with what I do best, thematic analysis. Today, I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to be predicting the overall thematic direction of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, how I think it builds on what the previous games have done, and what the message it wants to leave us with is. No harm in guessing. Who knows? Might even end up being right. Also, I'm aware that many people are already drawing comparisons between this game and the Xeno progenitor, Xenogears. I still have yet to find a way to play it, so this analysis will be based solely on my familiarity with the Xenoblade series. With that being said, let's get into it. Also, obvious spoilers for Xenoblade 1, 2, and maybe 3. We'll see. Humanity is arguably the meta-theme of the entire Xenoblade Chronicles series, the common factor that threads all its stories together. The first game was about humanity's right to self-determination in the face of divine predestination. X was about the human will to struggle and survive in the face of existential threat. And 2 was about humanity's conflict with itself, the ability to face the darker aspects of itself and move forward regardless. So, how will Xenoblade 3 interpret this overarching ponder on the human condition? Well, we already kind of have an answer. In a statement after the trailer, series shepherd Tetsuya Takahashi revealed the game's main theme to be life. Quite a broad theme, but thankfully, the trailer itself gives us plenty of hints as to what that means. When Takahashi refers to life as the main theme, I believe he's not just referring to life in a general sense, but life in relation to death, which would make perfect sense given the nature of the setting. War has been a secondary theme in the previous games, but here, with the entire world of Ionios already gripped in conflict, it looks set to take center stage, with all 6 main characters appearing to come from the militaries of the opposing powers of Kiev and Agnes. Of special note are our 2 protagonists, Noah and Mio, both of whom are off-seers, flute players who mourn for soldiers whose lives have been lost on the battlefield. As people whose job regularly brings them face to face with death, it makes sense for these characters to take the lead in a story about life. Side note, flutes are also a main theme in the game. In addition to being present in the soundtrack, flutes apparently have associations with death, as well as mystic and spiritual figures. I couldn't find many concrete sources for this, but I thought I'd toss it in just in case. Going back to the trailer, multiple references to clocks and time are made.
Fine for you, isn't it? All that time you've got.
They're not your friends anymore. They're his fuel.
What good filling up these flickering clocks in our eyes? It'll never replace the friends we've lost.
The flame clock! It has to go!
The way these things are said implies that life in this world has a time limit. Well, I mean, so does life in this world, but I'm talking about something more quantifiable, possibly related to the strange markings on each of the characters. A person's lifespan is implied to be something that can be seen, measured, even extended. And judging by the dialogue and who's saying it, that process of extension is likely one used by Kievs, one that the people of Agnes resent them for using, either out of jealousy or ethics. If this is indeed the case, then I can also see this feeding into that theme of life. The question of mortality and a life that goes on forever is one that Xenoblade 2 poses, namely in regards to Pyra, Mithra, and Jin, and it looks like this is a question that the sequel intends to tackle in a deeper way, which should be exciting. When you know how long you have left to live, how does that affect how you live your life? And if you had a chance to extend that life, how far would you be willing to go to do it? This is made more fitting by the fact that the people of Kiev are likely descended from the inhabitants of Xenoblade 1. where the main villain's goal was to eat everyone in the universe to sustain his own immortal life cycle. And speaking of cycles... The term Ouroboros refers to the image of a snake eating its own tail. As a symbol, it is most commonly associated with cycles, and it seems that they will play a heavy role in this game, with the term being name-dropped in such a way that it seems to refer to a kind of active party. Who or what they are isn't too clear. However, given that the symbol appears on the weapons of all of the female party members, both Kieves and Agnes, I'm thinking it might relate to them. I could very well be wrong here, but my current theory is that Ouroboros are a third faction in the war. Maybe the new Vandam is a member, it would make sense given his dialogue. This faction is one that is ideologically opposed to the war, and it seeks to break the cycle of men fighting each other over and over. They abhor the world, if you will, and it is this group that the main characters join after deserting their countries. The theme of cycles is another one that's been there since the beginning. As I mentioned earlier, Zanza's plan was to consume the universe in an infinitely repeating cycle of creation and destruction, to sustain his preferred status quo. In Xenoblade 2, humanity's nature is said to be cyclical in nature by the villains, that they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over, never growing and never changing. And, well, it doesn't really feel good to say that Amalthus was right, but it looks like he isn't as wrong as he should be. Thankfully though, he isn't the only one.
Humans will make Elysium into another Mortha, just as they did with Torna 500 years ago.
I won't let that happen!
And after you die, what then? Who will stop the inevitable?
Isn't that the reason that you Blades exist? And when I'm not around to stand by you in that effort, someone else will!
Ouroboros are that someone else. They're the ones who, even after Rex and Shulk are presumably no longer alive, are willing to stand up and fight for the value of human life. Just as villains come back with different faces, so too do heroes. The world tells them that they live to fight, but they instead choose to fight to live. And it is the fight for that life that I believe will make up the heart of Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Or not, I don't know. I could just be talking out of my arse, but only one way to find out. I probably won't make any more videos about Xenoblade before the game comes out. Frankly, this one was completely unplanned. I just had to channel my hype in some way. And now that I have, I'm happy to put theorizing to the side and just experience the game as is when it comes out. Maybe I'll play Xenogears in the meantime, if I can find out how. But in any case, thank you for watching. Hopefully this video didn't come out feeling too much of a mess. I promise my next video will be about something different. If you did enjoy it, then like, share, subscribe, and also comment what you think Xenoblade Chronicles 3 is likely to focus on in terms of themes and story. If you'd like to support me further, then links to my Patreon, Ko-fi, and Bandcamp are in the description below. Check them out, I'd appreciate it. Once again, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.